You know, we all have them. Those small, nagging fears. The little anxieties that somehow, someway, manage to feel absolutely huge. So in this explainer, we're going to dive in and tackle those head on.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? It could be a minor email you have to send, or a small disagreement, maybe a little task you've been putting off. And then suddenly it's just not so little anymore. It starts to feel like this monster lurking in the corner, casting a giant shadow over your entire day.
Well, it turns out there's a fantastic word for this, a hobgoblin. Now, originally, it's a mischievous little creature from folklore, but figuratively, it's anything that causes fear or worry. And honestly, it's the perfect name for these little monsters we cook up in our own minds.
And this idea is just captured so perfectly by this thought. The monsters we're so afraid of are often just shadows. Shadows cast by our own doubts. It's such a powerful reminder of how much of this is actually happening inside our own heads.
So, what does that really mean? Well, to put it simply, our fears are pretty much just playing tricks on us. The thing that feels so big and scary, it's not always as bad as it seems. And the best part, the moment we decide to face that fear, that monster usually shrinks right back down to its actual manageable size.
Okay, so if the key is to face these monsters to make them smaller, then the first step is to actually understand what they are, right? So let's do that. It's time to properly meet our inner hobgoblins. But that leads to the big question. Why? If a problem is genuinely small, what's the mechanism that inflates it into this massive, full-blown crisis in our minds?
Well, as it turns out, it really boils down to two primary culprits. Two very distinct ways that we manage to magnify our own worries.
So let's dig into exactly how we feed these little hobgoblins and, help them grow. This is what we're going to call fueling the fire. So there are two main ways we do this. On one hand, you've got the last straw problem. This is that old issue, something that's been simmering under the surface for ages, totally unresolved. So just one tiny little nudge is all it takes for the whole thing to feel like it's about to explode. Then, on the other hand, you've got the new shadow problem. This is a brand new issue where you just don't have enough information. And it's that fear of the unknown that casts a shadow of doubt that is way, way bigger than the actual problem.
And there's this brilliant way to visualize how we actually get involved in this whole process. It's not just that the problems grow on their own, it's about what we do to them.
Okay, picture this. It all starts with a tiny campfire. That's the actual small problem. But then, what do? We start fanning it like crazy. We throw on our worries, our what-ifs, our worst-case scenarios, and the result? A cartoon inferno. The crisis we're freaking out about isn't the original spark, it's the fire that we fueled ourselves.
So the really big question becomes, how do we stop fanning the flames? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful idea, learning to recover.
This campfire thing explains so much. Like, have you ever been in a total panic? You tell a friend about your massive crisis, and they just kind of don't get it? It's because they aren't fanning the flames. They see the problem for what it actually is, a small, totally manageable campfire. It's an amazing lesson in how much our perspective really does shape our reality. So does this mean that at some point we just become perfect at handling our hobgoblins? We become problem-solving machines? The short answer? Nope, not perfect. But, and this is a really big but, we absolutely get better. And that's the real goal here. It's not about perfection, it's all about progress.
Look, the problems might still sting just as much when they happen. The flames of stress might still rise really, really high. But with time and with experience, our ability to recover, to put out that fire and move on, it gets faster and way more effective.
And that right there, that is the most important takeaway. It is not about never feeling the heat. It's about getting so much better at finding the fire extinguisher. That growing ability to recover, that's the real superpower we earn over time. So, I'll leave you with this challenge. Take a look at your day, at your worries. What's that one small hobgoblin that you can stop fanning the flames on and finally face today?